If you enjoyed this audiobook, please consider liking, sharing, and subscribing to the channel. Sharing it with your friends and family helps spread knowledge, and when we help others grow, we grow too. Thank you so much for listening. Let's dive into the audiobook. Chapter 1, Rethinking Money and Life. Part 1, The Money Trap and Life Energy. When Sarah Jenkins calculated her true hourly wage in 2019, she discovered something shocking. Her $75,000 salary at a Manhattan consulting firm translated to just $8.50 per hour when she factored in commute time, work clothes, stress-induced therapy sessions, and overtime. She wasn't earning money. She was hemorrhaging life itself. Every dollar you earn represents something irreplaceable. Hours of your finite existence. This fundamental truth transforms how we view money from mere numbers in bank accounts to crystallized time. Your time. When you spend $200 on dinner, you're not just parting with cash. You're trading away the specific hours of life you invested to earn that money. Consider Microsoft's early employees who worked brutal 80-hour weeks in the 1980s. Many became millionaires, but several later described feeling robbed of their 20s and 30s. Bill Gates himself has spoken about missing family moments he can never recover, despite his wealth. They learned what indigenous cultures have always known. Time is the only true currency. The modern workplace perpetuates an elaborate illusion. We convince ourselves that our jobs provide financial security, yet most Americans live paycheck to paycheck, regardless of income level. A 2022 Federal Reserve study found that 40% of adults couldn't cover a $400 emergency expense without borrowing money or selling something. This financial fragility reveals the money trap's cruel mathematics. You trade life energy for money, then immediately surrender that money to maintain the lifestyle required by your job. The cycle becomes self-perpetuating. Higher salaries often demand longer hours, expensive professional wardrobes, costly commutes, and stress management expenses that devour the additional income. Take Jennifer Walsh, a corporate lawyer who earned $180,000 annually. Her real cost analysis revealed shocking hidden expenses: $2,400 monthly for commuting and parking, $500 for dry cleaning suits, $300 for stress relief massages, and $200 for expensive lunches because she lacked time to prepare food. These work-related costs consumed nearly 30% of her gross income before taxes. Breaking free requires honest calculation. Add your work preparation time, commute duration, decompression hours, and job-related stress management to your official work hours. Include every expense your job creates: clothing, transportation, meals, childcare, and health costs from work-related stress. Divide your actual take-home pay by these expanded hours. The result often startles people. High-earning professionals frequently discover they earn less per hour than service workers with shorter commutes and simpler lifestyles. This calculation doesn't diminish anyone's worth. It reveals the true cost of trading life energy for money. This awareness becomes the foundation for conscious financial decisions. Every purchase decision transforms from "Can I afford this?" to "Is this worth X hours of my life energy?" The question changes everything because it acknowledges what money actually represents: the irreplaceable moments of your existence. Part 2, Making Peace with the Past. When Rebecca Thompson first calculated her lifetime income at age 34, the number shocked her: $847,000. Despite earning nearly $1 million since her first summer job at 16, she had less than $3,000 in savings. Where had it all gone? This moment of financial reckoning became the catalyst that transformed her relationship with money and eventually led to her early retirement at 42. Most people carry financial shame like a hidden weight. The late payments, impulse purchases, and mounting credit card debt create an emotional barrier that prevents genuine progress. This shame whispers that we're failures with money, that we're somehow uniquely bad at managing finances. Research from financial therapist Brad Klontz reveals that 74% of people experience anxiety when discussing their financial history, even with professionals. The antidote to this shame lies in facing the complete picture. When you compile every dollar you've ever earned, from childhood allowances to last month's paycheck, something profound happens. The exercise strips away judgment and replaces it with data. You begin to see patterns rather than failures, choices rather than character flaws. Start with your earliest memory of earning money. Include summer jobs, gifts, bonuses, tax refunds, and inheritance. Most people discover they've earned far more than they imagined. The average American worker earns $1.7 million over their career, yet 40% have less than $400 in emergency savings. This isn't a personal failing. It's a systemic issue that affects nearly everyone. Consider Tom Harrison, a middle manager who tracked down every W-2 form from his career. His lifetime earnings totaled $1.2 million, yet his net worth was negative $15,000. Instead of feeling defeated, this clarity energized him. I finally understood that earning money wasn't my problem. Keeping it was, he later wrote in his financial blog. The calculation reveals something crucial about money's nature. Those hundreds of thousands of dollars represent tens of thousands of hours of your life energy. Each dollar was earned through specific moments you'll never get back. Late nights at the office, weekend shifts, stressful deadlines. This perspective transforms money from an abstract concept into something deeply personal. This exercise also illuminates the difference between gross and net worth. Many high earners discover they're essentially broke despite impressive lifetime incomes. The realization isn't meant to discourage, but to educate. Money flows through most people's lives like water through a sieve, serving its temporary purpose before disappearing. When you complete your lifetime income calculation, sit with the number. Let it exist without judgment. This isn't about regret over past spending or anxiety about future earning. It's about accepting your financial history as the foundation for conscious change. The past becomes a teacher rather than a source of shame, freeing you to make different choices moving forward. Part 3. Tracking every cent and life energy. When Oprah Winfrey's production team tracked every business expense down to the penny during her early television career, they discovered that seemingly small purchases were quietly draining thousands from their budget each month. This meticulous attention to financial detail became a cornerstone of her empire-building strategy, transforming how she viewed every dollar as precious life energy. Most people track major expenses like rent and car payments while losing hundreds monthly through invisible leaks. A McDonald's coffee habit costing $4 daily equals $1,460 annually. If you earn $15 per hour after taxes, that represents 97 hours of your life energy each year. The mathematics become stark when you convert currency back into time. The practice requires recording every transaction, no matter how small. Purchase a pocket notebook or use your phone's Notes app. Write down the 60 cents for parking, the $3 energy drink, the $20 impulse buy at the grocery checkout. This isn't about judgment, but awareness. Each entry represents life energy converted into currency, then exchanged for something else. Consider Sarah, a nurse in Portland who began tracking religiously after reading about this method. She discovered she spent $340 monthly on convenience foods despite having a fully stocked kitchen. At her hourly rate of $18, this represented 19 hours of hospital work each month. The revelation changed her shopping habits overnight. Converting expenses into life energy requires knowing your real hourly wage. Calculate your monthly take-home pay, then divide by actual hours worked, including commute time, preparation, and work-related stress recovery. Most people discover their effective hourly rate is significantly lower than their stated salary. Track spending for at least 1 month. though 3 months provides better patterns. Notice where money flows automatically versus consciously. Subscription services often continue charging long after you've forgotten signing up. Netflix, Spotify, gym memberships, and magazine subscriptions can total hundreds monthly while providing minimal value. The emotional component matters as much as the numerical one. How did you feel making each purchase? Rushed? Guilty? Satisfied? These emotions reveal spending patterns tied to mood rather than need. A Stanford University study found that people spend 12 to 18% more when emotionally distressed compared to neutral states. Create categories for your expenses: survival needs, comfort purchases, and pure indulgence. This framework helps identify which expenditures truly enhance your life versus those that merely consume life energy. The goal isn't extreme frugality, but conscious spending aligned with your deepest values. After several weeks of tracking, patterns emerge clearly. You might discover that expensive restaurant meals bring genuine joy and connection, making them worthwhile life energy investments. Conversely, impulse clothing purchases might consistently create buyer's remorse, suggesting poor energy allocation. This tracking process transforms your relationship with money from unconscious habit to deliberate choice. Every purchase becomes a question. Is this worth the hours of life energy it represents? Part 4. Evaluating true cost of work. When Sarah Martinez calculated her actual earnings from her marketing director position, the numbers stunned her. After accounting for all work-related expenses, her impressive $85,000 salary effectively became $52,000. Like most professionals, she had focused solely on gross income while ignoring the substantial hidden costs that quietly drained her life energy reserves. The concept of true hourly wage revolutionizes how we evaluate work. Traditional salary calculations mislead us by presenting only part of the equation. Real compensation requires subtracting every work-related expense from gross income, then dividing by total time invested in the job. This includes commuting hours, preparation time, decompression periods, and work-related activities outside official hours. Consider Jennifer Wong, a corporate lawyer who discovered her $120,000 salary masked significant hidden costs. Her daily commute consumed 3 hours and $25 in parking fees. Professional clothing averaged $400 monthly. Business lunches, dry cleaning, and work-related social events added another $300 weekly. Stress-induced medical expenses and therapy sessions further reduced her actual take-home value. When she calculated total work-related time, including evening emails, weekend preparation, and networking events, her effective hourly rate dropped from an apparent $57 to just $28. Transportation costs alone can devastate real earnings. The American Automobile Association reports that vehicle ownership costs average $12,182 annually. For jobs requiring daily commutes, these expenses directly reduce net income. Public transportation, while cheaper, still represents life energy invested without compensation. Remote work eliminates these costs entirely, potentially increasing real earnings by thousands annually. Professional wardrobe requirements create another significant drain. Goldman Sachs employees might spend $5,000 yearly maintaining appropriate appearance standards. Even casual office environments demand clothing purchases that wouldn't occur without employment obligations. These costs accumulate silently, reducing actual compensation while remaining invisible in salary discussions. Workplace stress generates substantial hidden expenses through healthcare costs, therapy sessions, and stress management activities. Dr. Robert Sapolsky's research at Stanford demonstrates how chronic work stress elevates cortisol levels, leading to increased medical expenses over time. The American Psychological Association estimates workplace stress costs individuals an average of $1,500 annually in additional healthcare expenses. Childcare represents another major work-related expense, often overlooked in compensation calculations. Parents frequently discover that after-tax earnings barely cover daycare costs, effectively working for minimal net benefit. This realization prompts fundamental questions about career priorities and life energy allocation. Tax implications further complicate true wage calculations. Higher salaries push earners into elevated tax brackets, reducing net income more than proportionally. A $10,000 raise might yield only $6,500 after taxes, making smaller salary increases less valuable than they initially appear. Understanding true hourly wages empowers better career decisions. Some discover that lower-paying positions with shorter commutes and fewer expenses actually provide better life energy returns. Others realize their current roles severely undervalue their time investment, motivating career changes or salary negotiations. This calculation transforms abstract salary figures into concrete life energy assessments, enabling more informed choices about how we spend our most precious resource, time. Chapter 2: Transforming Spending and Values. Part 1: Tabulating Spending in Life Energy Terms. When Maria Gonzalez first calculated that her daily Starbucks habit consumed 12 hours of her actual working time each month, she stared at the numbers in disbelief. This registered nurse from Portland had never connected the dots between her $4.50 latte and the 45 minutes of patient care required to earn it. Her revelation illustrates a powerful shift happening among thousands who are learning to measure expenses not in dollars, but in something far more precious: the irreplaceable hours of their lives. Converting spending into life energy transforms abstract financial decisions into visceral, personal choices. The process starts with a simple calculation. Divide your true hourly wage by your total monthly expenses. True hourly wage means your actual take-home pay divided by all hours spent earning it, including commuting, work preparation, decompression time, and job-related activities. For many professionals, this real hourly rate proves surprisingly low. A $60,000 per year marketing manager who works 50 hours weekly and commutes another 10 might discover she earns just $15 per hour of life energy invested. This perspective radically changes spending behavior. Take David Chen, a software engineer from Austin, who realized his weekend golf habit cost him 37 hours of life energy monthly. While he enjoyed golf, seeing it consume nearly a full work week's worth of his time led him to question whether those Sunday mornings truly delivered equivalent value. He didn't quit golf entirely, but reduced his frequency and chose a less expensive course, reclaiming 15 hours monthly. The calculation forces honest conversations about trade-offs. When Seattle teacher Jennifer Adams discovered her family's dining out expenses equaled 62 hours of her classroom time monthly, she faced a clear choice. Was the convenience of restaurant meals worth working nearly 2 additional weeks each month? Her family began cooking together more frequently, transforming meal preparation from a chore into quality time while dramatically reducing their life energy drain. Research from the University of British Columbia confirms that people who view money as time make more thoughtful purchasing decisions. Study participants who calculated purchases in working hours rather than dollar amounts chose less expensive options and reported greater satisfaction with their choices afterward. The temporal framing helped them connect spending decisions to personal sacrifice in ways pure dollar amounts never could. This approach works because time feels finite, while money often feels abstract. Everyone understands that trading 8 hours for a designer handbag means 8 fewer hours available for family, hobbies, or rest. The math becomes personal. A $200 dinner might represent 20 hours of commute time or 2 full evenings with children. These calculations don't eliminate enjoyment, but ensure conscious choice. The most profound changes happen when people realize how small daily expenses accumulate into substantial life energy drains. That morning coffee, lunch out, and evening streaming subscriptions might individually seem insignificant, but collectively consume weeks of working time annually. This awareness doesn't demand extreme frugality, but promotes intentional spending aligned with genuine values and priorities. Part 2. Identifying Gazingus pins and spending awareness. When Vicki Robin coined the term Gazingus pins in the early 1990s, she was describing those mysterious items that somehow multiplied in people's homes despite their owners having no clear memory of purchasing them. Picture walking through your living space and discovering 3 coffee makers, 7 phone chargers, or a drawer stuffed with 14 pairs of reading glasses. These accumulations happen because Gazingus pins represent our most unconscious spending patterns. The phenomenon extends far beyond duplicate household items. Consider Sarah, a Seattle marketing manager who discovered she owned 43 books she'd never read, purchased during stressful periods when browsing bookstores felt therapeutic. Each book cost roughly 2 hours of her work time, meaning those unread volumes represented 86 hours of life energy sitting dormant on shelves. Gazingus pins operate through emotional triggers rather than genuine need. Research from Duke University's Behavioral Economics Lab shows that people make up to 95% of purchasing decisions subconsciously, often driven by stress, boredom, social comparison, or the temporary high of acquisition. These purchases feel justified in the moment, but rarely provide lasting satisfaction. Amazon's algorithm deliberately exploits this tendency through recommended for you suggestions and one-click purchasing. The company's internal studies revealed that reducing purchase friction by even seconds dramatically increases impulse buying. Jeff Bezos famously called the one-click patent their most valuable intellectual property because it capitalized on split-second emotional decision-making. Identifying your personal Gazingus pins requires honest inventory taking. Walk through your home and notice what you own multiples of, what remains unused, or what generates mild guilt when you see it. Common categories include clothing with tags still attached, kitchen gadgets used once, subscription services forgotten, and digital purchases during late-night browsing sessions. The clothing industry particularly profits from Gazingus pin behavior. Fast fashion brands like H&M and Zara deliberately create artificial scarcity through limited collections, triggering fear of missing out purchases. The average American owns 148 pieces of clothing, but regularly wears only 20% of their wardrobe, according to Closet Maid's national survey. Breaking Gazingus pin patterns requires implementing pause mechanisms. Warren Buffett uses a 24-hour rule for any non-essential purchase above $100. Behavioral economist Dan Ariely suggests the cooling-off cart method, adding items to online shopping carts but waiting 3 days before completing purchases. Studies show that 70% of abandoned carts never convert to sales when people have time to reconsider. Creating awareness around these patterns transforms unconscious spending into conscious choice. The goal isn't eliminating all spontaneous purchases, but ensuring each expenditure of life energy serves your authentic values rather than momentary emotional impulses. Part 3. Minimizing spending with conscious choices. When Marie Kondo revolutionized organizing by asking if items spark joy, she accidentally created the perfect question for conscious spending decisions. Research from the University of Southern California found that people who asked themselves, "Do I truly need this?" before purchases reduced unnecessary spending by 43% within 6 months. The transition from awareness to action begins with systematic experimentation. Start with the 30-day rule for any purchase over $50. Consumer psychology studies reveal that delayed gratification increases satisfaction with eventual purchases by 67%. REI's famous return policy exists because founder Lloyd Anderson discovered that customers who waited before buying outdoor gear were far happier with their choices than impulse buyers. Track spending patterns using the 3-bucket method practiced by minimalist Joshua Fields Milburn. Create categories: necessities, meaningful wants, and everything else. Necessities include basic food, shelter, and transportation. meaningful wants align with your core values and long-term goals. Everything else represents potential life energy leaks. Grocery spending offers the clearest laboratory for conscious choice experiments. The average American family throws away $1,500 worth of food annually, according to the Natural Resources Defense Council. Implementing meal planning and shopping lists reduces food waste by 85%, while cutting grocery bills by an average of $312 monthly. Celebrity chef Jamie Oliver credits his family's meal planning routine with transforming both their health and finances. Challenge the convenience tax by calculating time versus money trade-offs honestly. Starbucks founder Howard Schultz once noted that the $5 daily latte represents more than coffee cost. It's purchasing a third space experience. If your local coffee shop truly provides community and inspiration, the expense might align with values. If it's purely habit, brewing coffee at home saves approximately $1,200 annually. Experiment with temporary spending freezes in specific categories. Fashion blogger Courtney Carver created Project 333, wearing only 33 items for 3 months. Participants reported increased creativity, reduced decision fatigue, and average savings of $800 during the experiment. The pause allows evaluation of what truly adds value versus what fills psychological voids. Consider the cost per use calculation for major purchases. A $200 jacket worn twice weekly for 2 years costs roughly $1.90 per wear. A $50 jacket worn monthly costs $12.50 per use. Quality items used frequently often represent better life energy investments than cheaper alternatives used rarely. Subscription audits reveal hidden spending drains. The average household maintains 12 active subscriptions, according to Truebill research, but uses only 6 regularly. Cancel unused services immediately. Then add back selectively based on demonstrated value rather than potential future use. The goal isn't frugality for its own sake, but intentional allocation of life energy toward experiences and purchases that genuinely enhance well-being and reflect personal values rather than cultural expectations. Part 4. Aligning spending with personal values. When Tara Brach, the renowned meditation teacher, discovered she was spending $3,000 annually on books she never read, she faced a startling revelation. Her purchases reflected who she wanted to become rather than who she actually was. This disconnect between aspirational spending and authentic values affects millions of people daily, creating financial stress while failing to deliver genuine satisfaction. Building a values-based spending framework requires honest self-examination. Start by listing your 5 most important life priorities. Common examples include family relationships, health, creativity, learning, or community contribution. Next, analyze your last 3 months of expenses. Calculate what percentage of your spending directly supports each priority. Most people discover significant misalignment. Consider Sarah, a graphic designer who claimed creativity was her top value, yet spent twice as much on restaurant meals as art supplies. She realized convenience dining had become a substitute for the cooking creativity she actually craved. By redirecting $200 monthly from restaurants to quality ingredients and kitchen tools, she rediscovered joy in meal preparation while improving her health and budget. The advertising industry spends over $600 billion annually influencing consumer behavior, according to Statista research. These messages often conflict with personal values, promoting status-based consumption over meaningful experiences. Recognizing this influence helps separate authentic desires from manufactured wants. Religious and philosophical traditions offer practical guidance. The Buddhist concept of right livelihood extends to right spending, choices that harm neither self nor others. Christian stewardship principles emphasize responsible resource management. Secular minimalism advocates for intentional consumption that serves genuine needs rather than cultural expectations. Values-aligned spending often costs less than impulse purchasing. A study published in the Journal of Consumer Research found that people who defined their values before shopping spent 23% less on average while reporting higher satisfaction with purchases. They bought fewer items but chose higher quality goods that lasted longer and brought greater joy. Environmental values demonstrate this principle clearly. Buying a $200 wool sweater from a sustainable manufacturer might seem expensive compared to fast fashion alternatives. However, if the sweater lasts 10 years instead of one season, the cost per wear drops significantly while supporting ethical production practices. Creating spending rituals helps maintain alignment. Before major purchases, ask 3 questions. Does this support my stated values? Will I use this frequently enough to justify the life energy cost? Am I buying this for myself or to impress others? Wait 48 hours before purchasing anything over $100 to ensure the decision feels right after initial excitement fades. The goal isn't perfect consistency, but conscious choice. When spending aligns with genuine values rather than external pressures, money becomes a tool for creating the life you actually want, rather than the life you think you should want. Chapter 3: Maximizing Income and Achieving Balance Part 1. Maximizing income without sacrificing life energy. When IBM software engineer Christina Wallace felt her demanding job consuming 70-hour weeks while her salary barely kept pace with her life satisfaction, she discovered what millions of professionals face: the diminishing returns of trading more time for more money. Her solution transformed not just her income, but redefined how she thought about earning altogether. The traditional approach to income growth follows a deceptively simple formula: work more hours, get promoted, earn more money. Yet research from Stanford's Jeffrey Pfeffer reveals that professionals who consistently work over 50 hours weekly experience a 30% decline in productivity per hour. This creates what economists call the effort trap, where harder work yields proportionally smaller rewards. Christina's breakthrough came through what she termed value amplification. Instead of working longer, she identified the 20% of her activities that generated 80% of her results. She then systematically eliminated or delegated lower-impact tasks while doubling down on high-value work. Within 18 months, her effective hourly rate increased by 60% while working 25% fewer hours. Consider how Southwest Airlines CEO Herb Kelleher approached this principle company-wide. Rather than pushing employees to work excessive hours, he focused on operational efficiency and employee satisfaction. Southwest consistently achieved higher profits per employee than competitors while maintaining industry-leading job satisfaction scores. This demonstrates how sustainable income growth emerges from working smarter, not harder. The concept of energy-efficient earning requires honest assessment of your current income streams. Track not just monetary returns, but the life energy each activity demands. Include commute time, stress recovery periods, and the mental bandwidth required for different tasks. Many professionals discover that their highest-paying activities aren't necessarily their most profitable when measured against total life energy invested. Freelance graphic designer Marcus Chen applied this analysis to his client portfolio. He discovered that his lowest-paying clients consumed disproportionate emotional energy through constant revisions and unclear communication. By raising rates for difficult clients and focusing on collaborative relationships, his income increased 40% while his stress levels plummeted. Skill stacking offers another powerful approach. Rather than becoming marginally better at existing capabilities, combine complementary skills into unique value propositions. Scott Adams, creator of Dilbert, credits his success to being simultaneously good at drawing, writing, and understanding business, rather than being exceptional at any single skill. The key lies in sustainable growth patterns. Amazon's Jeff Bezos famously prioritized long-term value creation over short-term profits. building systems that generated increasing returns without proportional increases in effort. This same principle applies personally. Invest time in developing processes, relationships, and capabilities that compound over time. What activities in your current work generate the highest return per unit of life energy invested? The answer often reveals opportunities to earn more while preserving the time and energy needed for what truly matters in life. Part 2. Building savings and reducing debt. When MIT researcher Elizabeth Warren studied bankruptcy filings across America, she discovered something startling. Most families filing for bankruptcy weren't irresponsible spenders living beyond their means. They were middle-class families hit by unexpected medical bills, job loss, or divorce. The difference between financial security and disaster often came down to one simple factor: having enough savings to weather storms while systematically eliminating debt that drains life energy. The traditional advice about saving 10% of income assumes everyone has surplus money after covering necessities. Reality tells a different story. Consider Sarah, a Denver teacher who transformed her financial situation, not by earning more, but by creating a systematic approach to building her safety net. She started with what financial planners call the pay yourself first method, but with a crucial twist. She treated savings like a non-negotiable bill. Sarah opened a separate savings account at a different bank, making transfers automatic but slightly inconvenient to access. This psychological barrier proved powerful. Within 18 months, she had built a 3-month emergency fund. The peace of mind allowed her to focus energy on debt elimination, rather than constantly worrying about unexpected expenses. The debt elimination strategy that consistently produces results follows the principle Ramit Sethi documented in his financial research. Focus on the highest interest debt first, while maintaining minimum payments on everything else. This mathematical approach saves more money than the popular debt snowball method, though both work because consistency matters more than perfection. Dave, a Seattle software engineer, applied this systematically to his credit card debt. Instead of spreading extra payments across multiple cards, he channeled every available dollar toward his highest interest card while maintaining minimums elsewhere. He eliminated $23,000 in debt within 2 years, saving over $4,000 in interest compared to minimum payments alone. The key insight from behavioral economics research is that small, consistent actions compound dramatically over time. A person saving $200 monthly in a basic savings account builds $2,400 annually. Someone eliminating a $300 monthly credit card payment frees up $3,600 yearly, while removing interest charges that often exceed 20% annually. What makes this process sustainable is viewing it through the life energy lens. Each dollar saved represents time and energy preserved for future choices. Each debt payment eliminated reduces future obligations that would otherwise consume life energy for years to come. The psychological shift happens when you realize that building savings and eliminating debt aren't about deprivation. They're about purchasing freedom. Financial security provides the foundation for taking calculated risks, changing careers, or simply sleeping better, knowing that temporary setbacks won't derail your life. This security becomes the platform from which true financial independence becomes possible. Part 3. The crossover point. When investments replace work income. When Reed Hastings sold Netflix stock worth hundreds of millions in 2021, his quarterly dividend income alone exceeded what most people earn working full-time jobs. This transformation from trading time for money to receiving money from investments represents one of the most profound shifts possible in personal finance. The crossover point arrives when your monthly investment income consistently meets or exceeds your monthly expenses without touching the principal. Netflix's early employees experienced this firsthand when stock options began generating more passive income than their salaries. Software engineer Susan Wojcicki left Google partly because her investment portfolio had reached this threshold, providing confidence to take entrepreneurial risks. Most people never witness this transition because they stop investing once they reach traditional retirement accounts. Consider Microsoft's early employees who received stock grants in the 1980s. Those who held their shares watched their quarterly dividends grow from pocket change to substantial income streams. Today, many receive more from Microsoft dividends quarterly than they earned annually during their working years. This milestone changes everything about work decisions. When Patagonia founder Yvon Chouinard reached his crossover point through company ownership, work became a choice rather than necessity. He could focus on environmental missions without worrying about generating income. The psychological freedom transforms how you approach career risks, family time, and personal projects. Calculating your crossover point requires honest assessment of actual living expenses. If you need $40,000 annually and your investment portfolio generates 4% returns, you need $1 million invested. Airbnb host Sarah generates $2,000 monthly from rental properties, while her expenses total $1,800. She crossed over by focusing on rental income rather than traditional stock dividends. The path varies significantly between individuals. Software architect David reached his crossover point at 35 through aggressive saving and index fund investing. Restaurant owner Maria achieved hers at 55 by gradually acquiring rental properties. Both strategies work, but timing and risk tolerance differ dramatically. Many people mistake net worth for crossover point achievement. Having substantial assets doesn't guarantee income generation. Real estate mogul Barbara Corcoran emphasizes that properties only matter when they produce positive cash flow. Similarly, holding Apple stock worth millions means nothing without dividends or sale proceeds. The crossover point doesn't require complete work cessation. Amazon's Jeff Bezos continued working decades after achieving financial independence through stock appreciation. The difference becomes working because you choose to, not because monthly bills demand it. Most importantly, reaching this point requires maintaining the disciplined spending habits that made accumulation possible. Lifestyle inflation can quickly push expenses above investment income, forcing unwanted returns to traditional employment. The crossover point represents true freedom only when coupled with continued mindful spending practices that honor your life energy investment in achieving this remarkable milestone. Part 4. Investing for Financial Independence. When Vicky Robin and Joe Dominguez first introduced their investment philosophy in the 1990s, they advocated something radical for its time: buying U.S. Treasury bonds and living off the interest. While inflation has rendered this specific strategy obsolete, their core principle remains powerful. Your investments should serve your life, not consume it. The most effective path to financial independence involves embracing boring, reliable investment strategies rather than chasing market excitement. Warren Buffett proved this approach works over decades, consistently advocating for low-cost index funds over actively managed portfolios. His famous bet against hedge fund managers demonstrated that simple, diversified investing outperforms complex strategies over time. The Berkshire Hathaway annual meetings showcase Buffett repeatedly emphasizing this message to thousands of investors seeking shortcuts to wealth. Consider the experience of early retirees who achieved financial independence through systematic index fund investing. Jacob Lund Fisker documented his journey from corporate employee to financial independence in just 5 years, investing exclusively in broad market index funds with expense ratios below 0.20%. His approach proved that consistent investing in low-cost vehicles creates wealth more effectively than attempting to time markets or pick individual stocks. The mathematics behind this strategy remain compelling. A portfolio split between total stock market index funds and bond index funds historically provides growth while managing volatility. John Bogle's research at Vanguard showed that every dollar paid in management fees represents multiple dollars lost to compound growth over time. A fund charging 1.5% annually versus one charging 0.10% can cost investors hundreds of thousands of dollars over 3 decades. Your investment approach should reflect your values while building wealth. Environmental, social, and governance investing has evolved beyond feel-good marketing into serious financial strategy. Companies with strong ESG practices often demonstrate better long-term performance because they manage risks more effectively. Patagonia's consistent profitability while maintaining environmental standards illustrates how values-aligned businesses can generate sustainable returns. The key insight involves recognizing that investment success requires patience rather than intelligence. The average investor underperforms market returns by attempting to time purchases and sales. Dalbar's annual studies consistently show that emotional investing decisions cost individuals significant returns compared to simply buying and holding diversified portfolios. Automation becomes your greatest ally in building investment wealth. Setting up automatic transfers from checking to investment accounts eliminates the daily decision-making that derails financial progress. Technology companies like Betterment and Vanguard have made this process simple, allowing investors to build wealth without constant portfolio monitoring. Remember that your investment strategy should support your vision of enough rather than maximize absolute wealth. Once your portfolio generates sufficient income to cover your carefully calculated expenses, additional growth becomes bonus rather than necessity. This perspective transforms investing from anxious wealth accumulation into peaceful progress toward freedom. The goal remains reaching your crossover point through steady, sustainable investing that aligns with your values and life energy principles. Chapter 4: Living Financially Free Part 1: Defining Financial Independence as Freedom from Work for Money. What if the most radical act you could perform was refusing to sell your Tuesday mornings? When Vicky Robin and Joe Dominguez quit their lucrative careers in their 30s, they discovered something remarkable. Financial independence isn't about accumulating millions. It's about breaking the invisible chain that forces you to exchange precious hours for paychecks. Financial independence represents the point where your passive income from investments equals or exceeds your living expenses. At Microsoft, employees who achieved this milestone through stock options often chose radically different paths. Some, like early retiree Scott Reekins, downsized from expensive California lifestyles to pursue documentary filmmaking. Others discovered that freedom from mandatory employment allowed them to volunteer, travel extensively, or start passion projects without revenue pressure. The mathematics are surprisingly straightforward. If you spend $40,000 annually and have $1 million invested at a 4% withdrawal rate, work becomes optional. The Trinity study, analyzing 75 years of stock market data, showed that a 4% annual withdrawal rate from a balanced portfolio sustained retirees through all historical market conditions. This research transformed how people think about retirement planning, proving that extreme wealth isn't required for financial freedom. Consider Jacob Lund Fisker, who achieved financial independence at 28 by living on $7,000 annually while earning $40,000. His approach wasn't deprivation, but optimization. He cooked elaborate meals at home, biked everywhere, and found free entertainment through libraries and community events. Within 5 years, his investments generated enough income to sustain his modest lifestyle indefinitely. The transformation runs deeper than numbers. Traditional employment creates what economists call golden handcuffs. The higher your salary, the more lifestyle inflation traps you in earning cycles. Financial independence reverses this dynamic entirely. When work becomes voluntary, you can pursue projects based on passion rather than profit. Artist Miranda Wang left her corporate consulting job once her investments covered basic expenses, subsequently founding a successful environmental nonprofit without financial pressure. This freedom extends beyond career choices. Parents who achieve financial independence often describe the profound shift in family dynamics. They attend school plays without checking emails, take spontaneous trips during off-seasons, and model different relationships with work for their children. The stress of mandatory employment often masks how much mental energy goes toward financial anxiety rather than creative pursuits. Critics argue this path requires privilege or extreme sacrifices. Yet teachers like Mr. Money Mustache demonstrated how middle-class families can achieve financial independence through conscious spending and consistent investing. Their journey from $50,000 combined income to early retirement took 9 years, proving that extraordinary salaries aren't prerequisites for extraordinary freedom. Financial independence essentially purchases your most valuable asset, choice. Every morning becomes an opportunity to decide how to spend irreplaceable hours based on meaning rather than monetary necessity. Part 2. Designing life for meaning and fulfillment. When financial pressures no longer dictate daily decisions, something remarkable happens. People begin designing lives that actually reflect their deepest values. Research from the University of Rochester found that individuals who prioritize intrinsic goals like personal growth, meaningful relationships, and community contribution report significantly higher life satisfaction than those chasing wealth, fame, or image. Consider Christy Shen and Bryce Leung, software engineers who retired at 31 after recognizing their six-figure salaries couldn't buy happiness in expensive Toronto. Rather than upgrading their lifestyle with each raise, they questioned what truly mattered. Their answer wasn't more possessions, but more experiences with loved ones, travel to understand different cultures, and time for creative writing. Today, they travel the world while spending less annually than their former mortgage payments. This shift from acquisition to intention requires honest self-reflection about what creates genuine fulfillment. Many discover that expensive hobbies can be replaced with equally satisfying alternatives. Golf enthusiasts might find equal joy in hiking. Restaurant devotees often develop cooking skills that bring families together while saving thousands annually. The key lies in identifying the underlying need each expense serves, then finding creative ways to meet that need. Building meaningful relationships becomes exponentially easier when time scarcity disappears. Pat and Joe, featured in financial independence communities, describe how early retirement allowed them to care for aging parents, volunteer at local food banks, and mentor young professionals. These activities, impossible during demanding careers, now define their sense of purpose. Studies consistently show that social connections and community involvement predict happiness more accurately than income levels above basic needs. Personal growth flourishes when survival fears diminish. Without the pressure to climb corporate ladders, many discover hidden talents and interests. Some learn new languages, others develop artistic skills, and many pursue education for pure intellectual curiosity rather than career advancement. The famous case of Jacob Lund Fisker illustrates this perfectly. After achieving financial independence through extreme frugality, he transitioned from physicist to Renaissance polymath, mastering everything from sustainable farming to philosophical writing. The transformation from consumer-driven to purpose-driven living often surprises people with its simplicity. Instead of asking, "Can I afford this?" the question becomes, "Does this align with my values and goals?" This mental shift naturally filters out impulse purchases while highlighting investments in experiences, relationships, and personal development. Creating a life plan around meaning rather than money requires regular evaluation of how time gets spent. Weekly reflection sessions help identify activities that energize versus drain. Monthly reviews assess whether current choices support long-term fulfillment goals. This ongoing process ensures life design remains intentional rather than reactive to external pressures or societal expectations about success. Part 3. Using time as the ultimate currency. When Warren Buffett trades hours of his day, he's not thinking about his hourly wage. He's calculating the irreplaceable nature of those moments. Unlike money, which can be earned repeatedly, time flows in only one direction, making every decision about how we spend our hours the most critical investment choice we'll ever make. Consider the math that changed Joe Dominguez's entire existence. The former Wall Street analyst realized that working overtime for extra income often cost more in life satisfaction than it provided in financial benefit. When he calculated the true hourly value of his work, including commute time, work-related stress, and recovery periods, the numbers revealed a startling truth. Many high-paying jobs actually delivered less value per life hour than he initially believed. This revelation leads to what researchers call time affluence, the feeling of having sufficient time to accomplish meaningful tasks. Studies by Stanford's Jennifer Aker show that people who prioritize time over money report higher levels of happiness and life satisfaction. The research demonstrates that viewing time as currency fundamentally changes spending behavior, relationship priorities, and career decisions. Real transformation happens when we apply this lens consistently. Sarah, a marketing executive from Portland, started tracking not just her expenses, but her time investments. She discovered that her expensive gym membership generated far less well-being than free morning walks with her neighbor. The equipment cost money. The walks cost time, but created lasting friendship and better health outcomes. The time as currency approach reveals hidden costs everywhere. That promotion requiring 60-hour weeks might increase salary by 30%, but decrease available life hours by 50%. The expensive restaurant meal might cost 2 hours of work, but provide 30 minutes of actual enjoyment. These calculations shift decision-making from automatic spending patterns toward intentional life design. Historical examples reinforce this principle. Henry David Thoreau chose simple living at Walden Pond partly because he calculated that working 6 weeks per year to cover basic expenses left 46 weeks for writing, thinking, and experiencing nature. His time accounting system prioritized intellectual and spiritual wealth over material accumulation. Modern practitioners apply similar logic with surprising results. Tim, a software engineer, realized his daily coffee shop visits consumed 45 minutes and $8. Rather than focusing solely on the financial cost, he recognized those 45 minutes could serve his long-term goal of learning Spanish. The change wasn't about deprivation, it was about conscious allocation of his most valuable resource. This perspective transforms every choice into a question of return on time invested. Which activities generate lasting satisfaction? Which relationships provide genuine connection? Which work contributes to personal growth versus mere income generation? These questions guide decisions toward experiences that compound in value rather than depreciate after purchase. The shift requires practice but produces profound changes in daily life. When time becomes the measuring stick, priorities clarify naturally, and the path toward meaningful existence becomes remarkably clear. Part 4. Real-life success stories and the path forward. When Sarah Chen left her corporate law position at 42, she had accumulated enough savings to live comfortably for decades without working. But her story began 15 years earlier when she tracked every expense for 6 months and discovered she was spending $4,000 monthly on restaurants, entertainment, and shopping, activities that brought her minimal lasting joy. The data shocked her into reconsidering what money actually meant in her life. Chen applied the principle of valuing money in terms of life energy rather than dollars. She calculated that after taxes, commuting costs, and work-related expenses, her effective hourly wage was far lower than expected. This revelation motivated her to question every purchase. How many hours of my life is this worth? She reduced her expenses by 60% without feeling deprived, redirecting funds toward experiences and relationships that genuinely mattered. By age 35, Chen had saved enough to work part-time, eventually transitioning to volunteer legal aid work. Today, she describes her life as richer, despite earning less income. Her story illustrates how financial independence creates space for pursuing meaningful work rather than simply escaping work entirely. Mark Rodriguez took a different path, a construction worker in Phoenix. He started applying these principles at 28 after recognizing that his spending habits kept him trapped in jobs he disliked. Rodriguez tracked his expenses meticulously, discovering that convenience purchases, daily coffee, lunch, gas station snacks, consumed nearly $300 monthly. He began preparing meals and coffee at home, investing the savings in index funds. Rodriguez also examined his relationship with possessions. He sold his expensive truck, choosing a reliable used car instead, eliminating $450 monthly payments. The freed capital, invested consistently over 12 years, grew substantially. At 40, he achieved enough financial security to start his own contracting business, focusing on sustainable building practices that aligned with his values. What makes these transformations sustainable is the mindset shift they represent. Both individuals discovered that reducing expenses felt empowering rather than restrictive once they connected spending decisions to life goals. They learned to distinguish between purchases that supported their values and those that merely filled emotional voids or satisfied social pressures. The path forward requires honest assessment of current habits and clear vision of desired outcomes. Start by tracking expenses for 3 months without judgment, simply gathering data. Then evaluate each spending category against your personal values and long-term objectives. The goal isn't extreme frugality, but conscious alignment between money use and life purpose. These examples demonstrate that financial freedom isn't reserved for high earners or investment experts. It emerges from understanding money as stored life energy and making deliberate choices about how that energy gets allocated. The journey demands patience and consistency, but the destination offers something invaluable: the freedom to spend your time exactly as you choose.